Media, the sports media, refuses to acknowledge and give people the full story. Right now, all they're doing, well, they're shilling for the WNBA, and that shouldn't shock us. I mean, the sports media is woke, and they've been in the bag for the WNBA for years now, like it is. Well, they're doing it with the ratings. Oh my God, the ratings are so brave, stunning, and courageously large. Except the ratings are literal.
Did the WNBA just pull off an incredible ratings coup, or are we witnessing one of the most brazen statistical sleights of hand in sports history? For weeks, headlines have screamed about record-breaking viewership for the WNBA Finals, proclaiming them the most watched in a quarter century. But what if those numbers aren't what they seem? What if the media machine is once again trying to convince us of a narrative that crumbles the moment you peek behind the curtain? We're about to expose the shocking truth behind these so-called records and reveal how the goalposts were subtly, yet fundamentally, moved. Do you think the WNBA's recent viewership claims are genuine, or are they inflating stats to mask a deeper truth, perhaps even a glaring absence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we're about to cut through the noise and uncover the untold story.
Different than they were any other year. But yet, the sports media, like Front Office Sports, will run a headline like this, completely misleading people.
If you've scrolled through any major sports news outlet this week, be it ESPN, Front Office Sports, or countless other mainstream platforms, you've undoubtedly encountered the same triumphant headline splashed everywhere: WNBA Finals most viewed in 25 years. On the surface, it sounds like an undeniable victory for the league, signaling unprecedented growth and a surge in popularity. However, as is often the case in the world of media, what appears impressive at first glance is rarely the full picture. The reality is, the media isn't outright lying to you, but they're certainly not providing the complete unvarnished truth either. This isn't a simple oversight, it's a deliberate act of what we've come to call creative accounting, a sophisticated method of presenting data that obscures crucial context.
WNBA Finals most viewed in 25 years, despite possible Aces sweep. Oh, this was before the game ended, but this came out late yesterday afternoon.
This year's WNBA Finals, featuring the Las Vegas Aces in a hotly contested series, have been aggressively marketed as an absolute ratings juggernaut. We've been told that viewership has supposedly soared by a remarkable 13% compared to last year's finals, culminating in the most watched championship series since the year 2000. These figures are being paraded as irrefutable proof of the league's burgeoning appeal. Yet, amidst all the celebratory fanfare and glowing reports, there's a critically important, yet conveniently omitted, detail that fundamentally alters the entire narrative. This seemingly minor omission is, in fact, the key to understanding the true nature of these record-breaking numbers.
Won all 3 games of the series, which are drawing 13% more viewers than last year. No shit, because you're literally including a shit ton of new TVs in this whole situation. It is unbelievable. They'll run this headline and then in fine print somewhere tell the whole story. The WNBA Finals continue to post strong viewership through 3 games. Well, honestly, compared to Indiana Fever regular season games, especially the ones Caitlin Clark plays in, but hell, the ones she don't. Ratings don't look that damn big to me still.
The pivotal change, the one that's conspicuously absent from most of the headlines, lies in how these ratings are actually being calculated. Starting this season, Nielsen, the industry titan responsible for tracking television viewership, dramatically overhauled its methodology. They integrated big data analytics and expanded their tracking to include smart devices into their proprietary formula. This isn't just a minor tweak, it's a seismic shift. This new expanded system now counts viewers from a far wider array of sources, including smart TVs, various set-top boxes, and even public locations like bars and gyms. Crucially, it counts screens that are simply asterisks turned on asterisks, even if there are no actual human eyeballs actively engaged with the content.
Not giving people the full story in these headlines. Yeah, oh my God, that catches attention, and everybody can, ESPN can take a victory lap. All these media outlets saying, look, see, everybody's interested in the WNBA. Nah, you're just using different metrics, which is changing what the viewers.
So, when you see that widely publicized figure of 1.9 million average viewers for the finals plastered across every news feed, it's essential to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism. You might want to mentally deduct a significant portion, potentially hundreds of thousands of those ghost viewers, before you start celebrating any genuine surge in popularity. The stark reality is that if this same newly inflated measurement system had been applied to last year's finals, or even those from 5 or 10 years ago, they too would have shattered previous records. This isn't a genuine explosion in the WNBA's organic viewership. It's simply Nielsen adjusting its parameters to count every plugged-in device, as if it represents a pair of actively engaged eyeballs. In essence, the league has, quite literally, discovered the magic of counting empty hotel TVs and passive screens across the nation.
We got the official viewership numbers for Game 1 of the finals, and this is from ESPN. 1.9 million viewers, which is up 62%, with its peak at 2.5 million, and this is the most watched Game 1 of the WNBA Finals in 28 years. I was actually pleasantly surprised by this data because I felt like the buzz around the WNBA Finals has actually been pretty low this season. I thought the buzz around the Lynx Liberty Finals last year had more buzz. Like, I was seeing a lot more people talk about that. Now, I have been seeing a ton of people talk about the game last night because obviously Asia's game winner was just legendary, and we are going to see that clip. We are going to see that photo for many, many of years. But up until last night, I felt like the buzz was really low on the finals. There were so many people who just weren't talking about it. They were talking about baseball, or they were talking about the NBA preseason or whatever, but it really wasn't focused on the finals. So when you see numbers like that, obviously those are great numbers, the best in 28 years. Another reason I was surprised by the numbers is because both games that were in Las Vegas actually weren't sold out, Game 1 and Game 2. And we also saw the ticket prices for those games. They were down to like $35. And then I believe the game last night was also down to like $10 per ticket. So it seemed like the demand for these WNBA finals had gone down a little bit, and both of the games in Vegas were not sold out. But I guess the TV numbers are still translating, so that's obviously a really good sign for the WNBA.
And predictably, the mainstream sports media, rather than critically examining these figures, eagerly embraced the narrative. Front Office Sports, for example, proudly ran with a headline proclaiming WNBA Finals highest viewership in 25 years despite possible sweep. This sounds like an extraordinary achievement, highlighting resilience even in the face of a potentially short series. However, the true shocker is buried deep within the article itself, often in the 5th paragraph or even further down, a crucial admission that audience metrics are getting a bump from Nielsen, which changed its tracking methods in 2015 to include set-top boxes and smart TVs. This is the subtle confession: we're counting differently now, but we'll conveniently pretend it's the same thing so we can tweet about record-breaking ratings. This selective reporting, burying the most critical context, epitomizes a disturbing trend in modern sports journalism, often serving as a transparent protect-the-brand routine. This entire charade plays directly into the WNBA's season-long public relations strategy. The league has been on a relentless mission, striving desperately to prove that they are not solely reliant on the undeniable star power of Caitlin Clark for their survival and success. They are ravenous for any headline, no matter how tenuous its foundation, that validates this narrative. But here's the inconvenient truth they desperately want you to forget. Caitlin Clark's regular season games, even without the benefit of this newly inflated counting methodology, easily outdrew these supposedly record-breaking finals. Her games consistently averaged over 1.5 million viewers per contest, a stunning feat achieved under the old asterisk, more stringent measurement system. Let's quickly do some incredibly basic yet revealing arithmetic. The WNBA Finals, operating under this significantly inflated new counting system, averaged 1.9 million viewers. Contrast that with Caitlin Clark's regular season games, measured under the previous more conservative system, which consistently drew 1.5 million viewers. You absolutely do not need to be a seasoned statistician to clearly discern what's happening here. The undeniable fact is that if the league had applied last year's tracking system to this year's finals, their viewership numbers wouldn't even come close to rivaling Caitlin Clark's regular season figures. But of course, you'll never hear them admit that aloud, because the WNBA is currently engaged in a full-scale image control operation. Having lost their biggest, most compelling draw for the postseason, they were acutely aware that without Clark in the mix, the finals viewership would, quite frankly, look rather dismal. So what exactly do you do when your primary attraction is absent and your core product isn't quite measuring up? The answer, it seems, is a remarkably simple yet devious trick. You redefine what success actually means. You add a few new screens to your counting methodology, you artfully reword a handful of press releases, and suddenly, almost magically, you conjure record-breaking viewership out of thin air. It's akin to a restaurant proudly declaring its best sales month ever after it started counting every complimentary glass of tap water served as a fully priced entree. The absurdity is truly that profound. But trust me, we're just scratching the surface here. The more you delve into the fine print, the more unbelievable this whole situation becomes, especially when considering the 2025 finals averaged 1.9 million viewers across 3 games. This included not just 2 ESPN broadcasts, typically behind a paywall, but also a coveted slot on ABC, a free-to-air network accessible to virtually every household with a television. This crucial detail often gets glossed over, as an ABC broadcast inherently taps into a far larger potential audience pool than any cable channel ever could, dramatically skewing the viewership numbers right from the start and making direct comparisons to past cable-only games fundamentally misleading. What we witnessed was akin to comparing the viewership of a niche streaming service documentary to the Super Bowl's commercial breaks, and then feigning shock that the latter drew a significantly larger crowd. The sheer absurdity of this comparison, where the baseline for audience reach is so vastly different, should have immediately raised red flags for any discerning observer, yet the narrative was pushed with unwavering conviction, seemingly ignoring this glaring discrepancy. Despite the obvious statistical gymnastics, the media enthusiastically embraced and propagated this storyline. It wasn't about journalistic integrity or factual accuracy, it was about validating a pre-existing narrative. This feel-good angle allowed them to confidently declare that women's sports were not just surviving, but actively thriving, even in the perceived absence of Caitlin Clark's singular draw, perpetuating a social narrative that the WNBA's growth was entirely organic and self-sustained. Yet, this carefully constructed facade crumbles under even the slightest scrutiny of actual data. Without the undeniable gravitational pull of Clark, the WNBA's momentum took a precipitous dive, much like a volatile stock experiencing a sudden market correction. Ticket sales across the league saw a noticeable decline, merchandise sales cooled considerably, and online search interest, which had soared to unprecedented heights during the initial Clark fever season, plummeted back to earth, leaving a stark reality the sports media seemed determined to ignore. Instead of confronting these uncomfortable truths, the prevailing strategy became one of masterful deflection and selective reporting. They chose to meticulously cherry-pick specific numbers, then loudly proclaim record-breaking at every opportunity, hoping to drown out any inconvenient questions about the true source of this alleged boom. What most casual fans don't realize, however, is just how profoundly manipulated, how truly cooked these seemingly impressive figures actually are. The foundation of these new record-breaking claims rests on Nielsen's completely revamped measurement system, ominously dubbed the Big Data Plus Panel method, which was rolled out at the start of this very year. This isn't just a minor tweak, it represents a comprehensive ground-up overhaul of how television audiences are quantified. Prior to 2025, Nielsen relied on a more traditional, panel-only system, basing its ratings on a meticulously controlled sample of households, offering a consistent if somewhat limited benchmark. Now, however, the floodgates have opened. Millions upon millions of new devices have been integrated into the measurement mix, encompassing everything from your Roku boxes and smart TVs to complex YouTube multicasts. This means that if you're merely sitting in a bustling hotel lobby with ESPN silently playing on a muted screen while you're engrossed in your phone, congratulations, you are now, according to this new methodology, an active viewer, contributing to those inflated ratings. This isn't genuine expansion, it's a fabricated surge, meticulously constructed from artificially inflated numbers, and then aggressively peddled through misleading headlines designed to create an illusion of success. And here's the truly ironic, almost comical twist, even with these massively padded counts. The so-called record-breaking WNBA Finals viewership only barely managed to edge out the actual organic ratings that Caitlin Clark's regular season games commanded just a few short months prior. This is the inconvenient truth that much of the so-called woke sports media adamantly refuses to acknowledge. To admit that Caitlin Clark is the singular, driving force behind the entire WNBA economy would be to concede that the league's most impactful star isn't its commissioner, or established powerhouses like Aja Wilson, or even the formidable Aces dynasty. It's one player, a rookie from Indiana, who single-handedly resurrected the league's relevance and thrust it into the mainstream spotlight. And for the vocal activists within the media who have spent an entire season attempting to diminish Clark's impact and dismiss her as merely overhyped, this undeniable truth is a bitter pill to swallow. It's precisely why they relentlessly spin narratives about collective growth and league-wide momentum, desperate to obscure the undeniable reality that one individual player, one singular talent, dramatically outperformed the engagement and viewership of their entire playoff system. Without her electrifying presence, the league undeniably feels flat. The compelling storylines that captivated millions suddenly dissipate. The vibrant energy that permeated every broadcast seems to vanish. You can meticulously pump up the statistical figures all you want, but it utterly fails to capture the palpable shift in atmosphere, the undeniable drop in excitement. And make no mistake, the most discerning critics of all, the fans, can absolutely feel it. When Clark is on the court, social media platforms like Twitter ignite with an unparalleled fervor, a genuine organic buzz that simply isn't present otherwise. Even WNBA players themselves struggle to feign enthusiasm online for non-Clark games. The engagement was noticeably minimal, the memes felt forced and dry, and the collective energy was unequivocally absent. These are the qualitative metrics, the true indicators of passion and connection that no Nielsen meter can ever truly capture or quantify. So, while the headlines scream about highest ratings in 25 years, the stark reality is a league quietly grappling with the unsettling realization that it might have already peaked, and it's only October. The fans sense it, the analysts observe it, and even Commissioner Adam Silver likely understands the precarious situation. Because the harsh reality is that raw data, while seemingly objective, can be meticulously rearranged and selectively presented until it perfectly aligns with whatever narrative you wish to construct. It's a dangerous game of perception versus reality, and the WNBA leadership, along with much of the media, has been playing it masterfully. So let's peel back another layer and examine what happened the moment fans began to truly unravel this ratings trick. As soon as the public started comparing the numbers side by side, Caitlin Clark's regular season games against these supposedly record-breaking WNBA Finals matchups, the truth became undeniably clear and frankly quite embarrassing for the league. The WNBA Finals, despite all the inflated metrics and the inclusion of hotel TVs, barely managed to outperform one of Caitlin Clark's random midweek regular season games. This stark comparison laid bare the fragility of the growth narrative, exposing it as a desperate attempt to manufacture a success story that simply wasn't rooted in genuine widespread interest. Even the most dedicated, longtime WNBA fans are growing increasingly weary of the constant media gaslighting. They genuinely love the league and its athletes, but what they crave above all else is honesty, not a manufactured narrative. Their concern isn't about tearing down women's basketball, it's about upholding journalistic integrity and presenting the unvarnished truth. You simply cannot credibly claim a league is thriving when a significant portion of its reported growth is derived purely from a fundamental alteration in how viewership is measured, rather than from an actual surge in organic engagement. And this uncomfortable truth isn't just being whispered among disgruntled fans. Some journalists finally are beginning to courageously call it out. One prominent TV analyst bluntly stated, "We can't compare these numbers to any past year because this is year one of a completely new system." This critical insight effectively renders all those 25-year high claims utterly meaningless, stripping them of any historical context or genuine significance. Yet this inconvenient truth did absolutely nothing to deter ESPN and other major outlets from relentlessly spinning their narrative. They plastered those big, bold numbers everywhere, proudly proclaiming that the league had finally achieved a monumental breakthrough, despite the underlying statistical deception. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you can almost picture Adam Silver and Kathy Engelbert quietly holding their breath, fervently hoping that no one dares to ask the uncomfortable question of precisely how those numbers miraculously climbed so high. The WNBA leadership is acutely aware of the charade unfolding. They fully comprehend that without Caitlin Clark's unparalleled drawing power, the league's inherent excitement dwindles dramatically. They know with absolute certainty that the vast majority of their newfound audience tuned in because of her, not as a general ripple effect that continued long after her initial impact. And make no mistake, the palpable panic behind the scenes as they confront this unsustainable reality is profoundly real and growing by the day. Why, you ask? Because the offseason is officially here, and with it, the undeniable absence of Caitlin Clark. Gone is the electrifying fever buzz, the palpable excitement, and those consistently packed arenas that mark the regular season. Now the WNBA faces the daunting task of selling sponsorships for a record-breaking finals that, let's be honest, half the internet has already called into question, labeling it anything from inflated to outright fake. The league is staring down a future without its biggest draw, trying to convince advertisers that the hype was real, even as the organic energy dissipates. When it comes to securing lucrative sponsorships, shrewd marketers don't just glance at splashy headlines. They meticulously analyze genuine engagement, and what did the data reveal? The recent WNBA Finals reportedly garnered less than half the social media buzz, the authentic online conversation, of even Caitlin Clark's worst-rated regular season game. This stark disparity tells a powerful, undeniable story without Clark. The league struggles to capture the public's imagination, a critical metric that no amount of spin can obscure, and one that potential partners pay very close attention to. While television metrics can be manipulated and spun to fit a narrative, what remains impossible to fake is genuine public conversation and widespread enthusiasm. Caitlin Clark possessed a unique, almost magnetic ability to draw in audiences who had never paid attention to basketball before, suddenly making them care deeply about the WNBA. She transformed the viewing experience, with bars across the country proudly displaying fever games in prime time, a phenomenon unheard of for the league previously. Every single arena she stepped into became an instant sellout, a testament to her star power and the undeniable organic excitement she generated. So there you have it, a tale of fabricated ratings, uncomfortable truths, and a league desperately scrambling to conceal its biggest secret. Do you honestly believe the WNBA will ever genuinely admit just how profoundly they depend on Caitlin Clark for their current surge in relevance and viewership, or will they persist in their attempts to fake growth with these seemingly cooked numbers? Drop your answer in the comments below, hit that like button if you found this insightful, and don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more unfiltered truth bombs on the world of sports media. Spin.